OffBeat Sports Podcast presented by Celsius.
It's been a tale of two seasons for the Boston Celtics.
I probably aged about 10 years just from that series.
I'd probably compare myself to just a younger, smarter, more handsome, stronger Michael Jordan.
Let's go Celtics. Go Patriots.
These are guys who, when you give them a bowl of Cheerios in the morning, they finish every last drop of milk.
Absolute clown over here.
I'm ready when you are, baby.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the OffBeat Sports Podcast. As today we are joined by Joe Sanfilippo to get an inside look at the business side of sports. Joe is the Chief Operating Officer of the Upper Edge Sports Agency and is a business partner of former guest Chris Hogan through their venture company, Undrafted Ventures. He is also a manager of growth and partnerships at Today's Business. Thanks for joining us today, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be on the show.
All right,
Excited to have you, man.
Yeah, so I'm Cross. This is Harry and Aiden. We host the show. We have a lot of fun with this. We interviewed Chris Hogan, who you know through your ventures and stuff. But we want to talk to you about some of your roles within that NFL agency, Upper Edge Sports. So do you want to talk to us about your role within that agency?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I've been in the sports marketing space for about 6 years now. Obviously doing a lot of work with Chris Hogan. I've also worked with some pretty big name people in the space, everyone from Ray Lewis to Kevin Garnett are probably some of the more, well-known figures. But yeah, I've been in the space for a while, really on the marketing side. And, this is my newest venture into the agency side. Partnered up with one of the, really leaders in the NFL agency world, Andy Ross. He's been in the space for over 25 years. He's done over $500 million worth of NFL contracts himself. He's Chris Hogan's agent. He's also the agent for Wyatt Teller, who was at one point the highest paid contract for a right guard in NFL history. He's also represented Ali Marpet, who won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and was the highest paid Division III football player of all time, which is always something I like to brag about because I played Division III.
Hell yeah.
So it's always good to see the D3 guys, make some money, make it to the next level. It's awesome.
Well, Joe, you're talking a lot. Sorry, my bad. I just want to cut you off real quick. You're talking a lot about big guys, the linemen up front. And there's one thing about me is I love the big guys in sports. I was a lineman myself. I have a quote that's frequently referenced.
One of Harry's things
because of it.
Let's hear it.
So one of the episodes we were doing.
What were we recording?
It was the post-draft
the pre-draft. It was the pre-draft.
No, it was the post-draft because we were talking about the picks. So we were talking about how Cole Strange was drafted and the two other big mans were drafted like 5th and 6th. And I was sitting there and I was going on a rave. I was like, I love the big guys in sports. I'm a huge fan of them. They're the type of guys you give a bowl of Cheerios and they drink every last drop of milk. That's been quoted
stupid quote.
A few times. It's been quoted a few times since there. So I was looking.
There's his own shirt for that now.
Yeah, I got my own shirt on the store now. But I was looking through your profile and all the guys that you contract. I'm like, oh, these are my type of people right here.
Your agency mostly represents offensive linemen. Is that like a intentional thing, or is it just like the respect for your agency is more by the offensive lineman versus some of the other positions?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we certainly aren't like an offensive lineman only agency, right? We work with every position and we've worked with people of every, size, shape, background, you name it. And really it kind of just is one of those things that it's just been a specialty of ours. A lot of the offensive linemen, they don't always get the same, level of attention from their agents or from their marketing people, from some of the big agencies. And that's kind of how we position ourselves as, every client of ours, we're more of a boutique agency, right? So every person that joins our agency is part of our family and we treat them like family, from the second they sign with us to, the day they die. Like our family isn't just one when you're playing in the league. It's also like, post-career planning, even draft preparations, like the whole nine. We're really one-on-one with our guys. And I think what a lot of the O linemen love, really enjoy the care that we provide, and the fact that we go above and beyond for them. And you're not going to meet a lot of other agents that are able to secure a lot of like brand marketing deals for offensive linemen the way that we are able to. And I think that kind of separates us. And I guess we've always just kind of had a good connection with the O linemen, and it's became a bit of a niche for us, or a specialty.
Which I think is a fantastic thing, because I was an offensive lineman. I played left guard and D tackle
Yeah,
for 11
he
years.
could have went pro, but he had a big injury. It was a huge thing.
The injury was I got banned from watching, playing, or seeing sports games at my high school for my senior year, so I wasn't able to play. But I was a big chirper on the sideline, so it got to me in my final years. But no, I played for 11 years straight. I love the sport, love playing, and being one of the big guys. You never really got the same love because you were protecting the guys that everybody loves. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I love seeing them get the respect they deserve, because I mean, if you watch football nowadays, how good's a good quarterback when they have no line? When a pocket collapses in 2.5 seconds, there's not much you can do behind it. But if you have some big guys up front actually taking care of the guys behind him, that's what sets up the big plays ahead of time. So I love when I was looking through, I saw that. That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, hell yeah, these are my type of people.
Yeah. It's kind of, I guess it's just, it's not necessarily about what position people are. It's more about, like, for us, what type of person are you? What type of character
Yeah.
do you represent? And, I guess a lot of times, it just so happens that we connect well with offensive linemen. I mean, my business partner, Tom, was an offensive lineman, and he's Chris Hogan. I guess we have a little bit of a thing, like, because a couple of some of my best friends, I played receiver, similar to Chris Hogan, and his best friend is Tom, my partner, who is an offensive lineman. And I was kind of the same way. I was a receiver, but a lot of my best friends on Elmhurst, where I played college football at, they were a lot of offensive linemen. I think, when you kind of you just have a respect for people that play that position. You're in the trenches. You're really not getting a lot of the, glory from the, outside perspective, but the O line is the core of the team. Like, if you don't have a good line, like, there's nothing you can really do.
Because wide receivers can go out there and snap ankles, quarterback can make some plays, but it's only how many times that it can happen.
You see the importance of the offensive line, especially like you can see with the Raiders right now. Like, they're 0-3 right now, and their team should be significantly better than they are. It's just their offensive line sucks so bad that Carr can't even get off throws because he's getting hit all the time. I mean, you can see the importance. That team is stacked pretty much all across the board except for their offensive line, and that's huge. I mean, it can change the team completely.
Yeah, it's been the problem with the Bengals this season too, right? Burrow doesn't have much time to throw. They don't have a line. Those clients are so valuable to have,
Well, I mean, you could talk about it with a bunch of teams: Broncos, Patriots, even Bill.
Patriots have actually been pretty good offensive.
Yeah, Pats have a good line.
First week was rough, but moving on. So I would love to sit here and talk about them all day. That's my people. It's kind of blending with the question I want to ask you. So you're talking about, it's just the guys that, you want to take care of them and be family people to them. You know what I mean? It's not just once I'm done with you, we're done. It's you want to take care of their lives as a whole. It kind of bleeds into the question, like, what are some of the main things that you're looking for the second you want to build a relationship with clientele?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, one thing that we always look at is like their upbringing, right? So, what is their family like? How were they raised? Right? Like, are they, work ethic people, especially when we're recruiting kids from, all the way down in high school at this point. We want to know, like, what are they going to do when they get to college, right? What are they going to do when they get to the pros? Like, can they handle the pressure? Are they in it for the money, or do they really love the game? Are they a team player? Like, you're kind of just trying to, like, get to know people, get to understand their characteristics and how they hold themselves, I would say.
Yeah. So when you're like working in the sports agency business, where you also work in a marketing business, how do you kind of incorporate that marketing into your sports agency work? Like, is that like does those things kind of go hand in hand? I feel like they would.
Yeah, they definitely do. So I think what's really unique about what we do, especially for what I do, and like the value that I bring to the agency and today's businesses, I've been doing brand marketing for the past 6 years. So I've been on both sides of the fence on deals, right? I've represented the athletes and the influencers, and other times I represent the brands. And for a while, for a couple of years, I kind of took a step out of the athlete side and really focused on the brand aspect of it, right? How does a brand value a marketing deal, right? Or an athlete marketing campaign, right? What are they looking for? How do they want to, like, what are the metrics that they're going to look at to determine whether it's a successful partnership, right? And I'm able to really take that brand perspective and bring that to my athletes and coach them up and say, like, hey, if we're gonna pitch this brand, these are the things that they're looking for, right? These are the trends that are in the industry right now that they want, right? Like right now, for example, the biggest thing is brands want to see good quality content that is getting engagement, right? So like, what is that in the marketing world right now in social media? It's TikTok videos, Instagram reels, using trending audios, making sure your content is high resolution, high quality, it's cut up the right way. Like all of those types of things, I can help our athletes like present to brands better. And they don't even really have to present it because I'll present it for them. But that's really like the difference. And a lot of people that are in the agency space, right? A lot of them are probably a little bit older. Maybe they're not as familiar with how to operate on social media. They might still be kind of stuck in the age of working with, some of the big CPG brands that are kind of doing a lot of the old campaigns that haven't, that are starting to evolve. There's kind of that new wave, that new transition of like, hey, this is how marketing is being done now. This is how brand deals are being done. And, you kind of got to get with the times or else you get left behind. And that's kind of where we come in is we already have all that, background that we can deliver to the brands and help our athletes give the brands what they're looking for.
So correct me if I'm wrong. One of the biggest things that probably plays into that is how much the NIL kind of sponsorship across the college leagues have really just brought up that side of marketing, because now these players are getting the chance to, promote themselves before they get to the big leagues. Can you like speak on how that's affected like the game today and how these players are coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I could go so many different directions here in terms of like how it's affected the game. I mean, first and foremost, like college is just going to work like this. Like it's just going to come down to just like any other business, which a college is already a business beforehand. They're just trying to like advertise themselves as an educational institution, which it is, but it's a business, right? They all have money. They all make a lot of money. And it's like whoever's going to have the biggest endowment. And an endowment is essentially your school's fund, your school's like retained earnings, how much they have to spend. And what people are doing now is they're making these like collectives. So a lot of the schools are partnering with their donors, right? And, getting funds of like hundreds of thousands of dollars or sometimes millions of dollars, depending on
ridiculous amounts.
Yeah. And what they're doing is in some instances too, like I talked to a kid today, they're working on a collective where they have the funding from the school already, from the donors, from the alumni. Now they're bringing brands into it, and brands are able to partner with the collective to sponsor all of the athletes, but the brand doesn't have to put up as much money as it would on its own, right? So for example, if, FOCO, which is one of our clients that makes licensed sports merchandise, if they wanted to work with, the Duke men's basketball team, I'll just throw a random thing out, and Duke men's basketball is $1 million endowment fund, and FOCO wants to sponsor all of those athletes to wear their products for the rest of the season when they're walking into the games or whatever. They would basically, if they're able to work a deal with the collective will cover, majority of that cost, and FOCO would only have to put up a smaller percentage of the budget and be able to sponsor that whole team. So there's things like that are happening that are pretty crazy. Then just in general too, like the fact that athletes can basically you can make your selection based on how much you're going to make in your NIL deals, right? So you can go, like, it's a recruiting tool for these schools now. Like if you have brand partnerships, if you have an alumni that owns a particular brand that can sponsor all of your players, it's just such a huge one up when it comes to recruiting. So there's so many different ways in which it affects the college market, as I'm sure everyone's seen. But those are the two first ones that come to mind. It's just like it's just such a different beast when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, so like when you were talking about your business ventures earlier and how you were working on like approaching like the athletes for like brand deals that way from that side of things versus from the athlete side of things, how do you go about approaching athletes for like brand deals if you're working with one of your companies? I know you said in one of your emails you were trying to work with somebody for your Tomahawk Shade company. Like, how do you guys go about like that process?
Which I think are sick, by the way. I just want to shoot that out there.
Yeah, no, I gotta get you guys.
I was checking those out. I was thinking about copping a pair before the interview, so I could surprise you. But
yeah, I gotta get you guys hooked up with some shade.
Hey,
please, that'd be awesome, man.
I'm actually going out on Friday. I'm traveling to our headquarters, which is out on Long Island, and we didn't break the news yet, so I don't want to. I'll give you guys an inside scoop after, but we have a really exciting influencer joining the ambassador team at
No kidding, huh?
So you guys will know who she is.
Hey,
sure.
we won't say any names. We're not the leakers.
We'll talk after.
It's gonna be a pretty big press release. But anyways, when it comes to from the brand side, you got to always remember this, right? The brand is trying to maximize their results within their budget, right? So if I got 20, or if it's an agency, the agency is getting judged by the brand, and they may have had, like for my instance, right? I have maybe sold a brand on an influencer campaign, and I told them I was going to hit a certain deliverable, right? Whether it's X amount of influencers, whether it's X amount of views or impressions or sales, we're under a microscope in terms of like, are we performing? Are we hitting the objectives that we set forth before we launch the campaign? So, we're doing everything we can to get people to do stuff for the lowest possible price. So, you always got to remember on the athlete side that if a brand's making an offer to you, you should never just say no to say yes to the offer. Like say no and see what they come back with, right? Like they're probably going to come back, and if not, you could always follow up and be like, as long as you do it in a timely enough manner, like, hey, you know what, I thought about it, I'll take the deal. But a lot of times they might come back and like offer you more. So, or what you should do is like, offer them something else in exchange for a higher percentage. But yeah, the brand, like when we're going to athletes, a lot of times if we are going to athletes too, it doesn't matter how big of a following you have necessarily. It doesn't matter what school you go to necessarily in some instances. A lot of times it's what type of content do you create, right? Like, are people following you because you are an athlete at that school, or are people following you because they really like what you're putting out? Like it's educational, it's engaging, it's informative, like whatever it might be. Like, you just have to remember, if you are a content creator, who is your audience? Why are they following you? And like, how can you continue to grow that audience, right?
Yeah. And that's where we're at right now. Like as like a podcast, like we're trying to figure out where we want to grow and how we want to grow. I mean, like Harry works on the TikTok, and like we work on Instagram and the podcast and stuff. And I feel like TikTok, especially, you have to find your niche and you have to find go through that.
A lot of what you were saying earlier, Joe, is like I said, I want to be an actor. So obviously I try and pay attention to what's trending, what's new, so I can try and get my name out there to try and build this resume. And consistently with that, I'm trying to build OffBeat because, one, I love talking about sports. Sports is my backbone. And I'm thankful enough that these guys let me take care of the OffBeat TikTok side of things. Mm-hmm. And I'm constantly, like checking what's new trending. And you'd see the drastic difference between when you post a video and then you post a video with a song that's trending. Even if the song is like that quiet behind it, it gets more views because of everything that's being launched. They're shooting that out more to the general public because that's what's hip right now. These small things aren't going to rise without some big push behind it. And that's what I've kind of noticed across I'm going. So what you're saying right now is you're preaching to the choir. Like I'm taking everything taking everything in and holding down, fucking making notes in my head. You know what I mean? Like this is good. This is good news for me.
Well, and that's the thing too. Always remember, and this is something I always tell people too. Like, remember the content honeycomb. And if you don't know what the content honeycomb is, it's basically this. It's like there's 6 pillars of valuable content, right? And valuable content has to do one of these 6 things. It either has to be entertaining, right? TikTok is a lot of entertaining content, right? Funny stuff, stupid shit. It's got to be unique, right? Like different than everything else, like completely, like something where it's like, wow, I've never seen anything like that. That's cool. Like, I need to share that with my friend, right? Or it should be meaningful, right? So it could be something like when people put like a promotion on LinkedIn, or you post a picture of someone's birthday, right? Like that always gets better engagement, right? Because it's meaningful, right? People around you, probably like see meaning in it. Or it can be educational, right? You learn a lot of new stuff with some of the TikTok content that's out there. Helpful, right? Kind of goes along with educational. You're solving a problem. Or participatory, right? So you're getting people to engage in whether it's a contest or comment below, giveaways, stuff like that. And those are like the core 6 pillars, like, of valuable content, right? The content honeycomb, they call it, is one of like the core fundamentals when you're creating social media content.
Is it often you see people struggling when they try and do too many of those at once?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's a great question. Like, I think you have to really, if you're doing one video, like, pick one thing you're trying to do. I'm either trying to help people solve this one problem, or I'm trying to like do this one objective. If you try to like, and that's with anything, right? Like in life or in marketing or business or whatever, if you're trying to do too many things at once, you typically don't.
You'll overtask yourself.
You
focus on everything that you have to do instead of getting one thing done first and going along with it after.
Yeah, TikTok is so niche. You need to find that niche and then run with it.
Yeah. So you kind of talked a little bit earlier about the process of negotiating deals with college athletes and recruiting, right? With all the NLI stuff you have to deal with. But negotiating NFL contracts is like, it's the big stage, right? So, I mean, could you talk to us a little bit about what exactly it's like to negotiate contracts with NFL players? Because the stakes are high. There's millions of dollars at stake here. So what's it kind of like to be in that room where you're negotiating directly with teams and players?
Yeah. So great question. And to be honest, I haven't done a ton of it firsthand. I've heard a lot of advice from my partner, Andy. My partner, Tom, has been very involved with a lot of Chris Hogan's contracts. But next year I'm actually taking the NFL agent exam. So hopefully at that point I'll get my foot in the door with a little bit more of that.
Oh, no shit.
And then once he's representing all these big name athletes, he's just going to keep feeding them to our podcast. That's the deal.
Oh yeah. No, that's how we're going.
100%. I'll get you guys some guys on here. But I would say it comes down to this. Like, everything that I've been told is it's all about research, right? Like, you have to know what is going on within each team. And that's why Andy Ross is so good at what he does, because he knows all of the GMs, he knows all of the scouts. He's like getting around, like, with his, it's very relationship driven. Like, obviously the player, your skill set's your skill set, and like that's what's going to make the majority of the decision for the team. But when it comes down to it, there's such a small difference in between, like, when the players are this good and you're at the top of your level and you're at the NFL, like, it's very minimal, like, things that kind of set the difference between a practice squad guy and a guy on the 52, and between a second stringer and a starter, and between a starter and an all-pro guy. Like, it's not, at least in my opinion, it's not a huge talent gap. A lot of it is preparation. A lot of it is, there's definitely talent and size and work ethic. Those are all very important. But when it comes to getting those contracts, it's important to have a good agent that knows the market, that knows what's going on, because, I wish I had Andy to answer this question. Maybe I'll have to get him on here, but he's told me plenty of stories about, guys that weren't prepared, that missed out on, good contracts and good opportunities because they didn't, know what was going on in the market, and they missed out on, millions of dollars. And a
Yeah, I mean, knowledge can be power, and I mean,
Knowledge isn't
weapon.
No,
and
knowledge can't
you
be
can
power.
get it.
Knowledge
You
is
can get
power.
an upper hand in a negotiation with that knowledge. So I mean, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what it comes down to. Like, if you know what, you got to, if you're representing a right guard and for the Cleveland Browns, you need to know what other, like Andy Ross, he knows for every single one of his guys, like the depth chart of every other team. And he knows which teams are like looking to fill a position, which people are looking to make trades. It's just a lot of being in the know and research and having a lot of conversations with people. And that's why he's so good at what he does. Cause we get on our Monday morning calls and we kind of go through client updates. And, prior to the season, he was, before we got into season mode, he was saying, all right, I know these three teams have this guy in their second string position. So we're not going to really, they're not looking for someone there right now. So we really need to put the focus on, Miami and Denver and these teams, whatever it might be. Right. So it's kind of just knowing. You gotta put in the research. You gotta have the relationships, and it just comes with experience too, just like anything else.
Yeah. So I mean, you've mentioned Chris Hogan a couple times. You're partnered with him on a few business ventures, and talk about your relationship with Hogan. I mean, you guys good friends. I mean, you business partners. I'd assume you work closely on a lot of things.
Yeah. So yeah, Chris and I have become friends over the years. Chris, so how I met Chris was it's really stemmed from my business partner, Tom Otiano. Tom is the CEO of Today's Business. He's our chief marketing officer at Upper Edge Sports and co-founder of Undrafted Ventures as well. But really it came down, Tom played, he was a walk-on at Hofstra University, the first ever walk-on captain at, he was a center. Then they actually shut the football team down, and he right when he became a captain, first ever walk-on captain, shut the team down. He ended up transferring to Monmouth University in South Jersey, and that's how he met Chris. So Hogan was playing 4 years at Penn State, transferred to Monmouth around the same time, and him and Chris kind of hit it off being the transfers. And they were both like two of the only guys, a couple of the only guys on the team that were like taking a shot at the NFL. So they trained for the combine together, and they just became best friends through that time in their life. And really, ever since, they've continued to be best friends. They talk every day, every morning at like 5 a.m. because they're both crazy and wake up at 4:30.
Trust me, I don't do it by choice, but I know the feeling.
Well, yeah. So they're like best friends, and then Tom and I've been working for Tom, since I was probably your guys' age, right out of college. When I was 22, I started working at Today's Business, and just started taking on anything that really they threw at me. And a lot of times it came, it was helping out get deals for Chris or help Chris with whatever he needs. And then, over the last few years, I became a little bit closer with him, going to some games, meeting his family. He's got an awesome family, and, helped him out with, kind of became the guy that whatever he really needed and anything he needed coordinated, he kind of comes to me for. So I helped with I was the executive producer for the docuseries that he shot with, the Lacrosse Network for when he joined the Premier Lacrosse League. Helped him when he was with the Saints or when he was with the Panthers, when he was with the Pats, with whatever he needed. If he needed his family's coming down to a game, he needs car service, or he's trying to get content right now for his partnership with Cuts Clothing, and he's looking for content ideas, like whatever he needs from a that standpoint. That's kind of where I'm helping him out the most.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So when we first started our podcast, I think I was the only one out of the three.
So funny story about that. When the guys got started, I was begging them like, "Yo, can I join in? Can I join in?" And then they hit Chris, and I was like,
"So it was me, my
wish
friend."
I was there for it.
Yeah, so it was me and two other guys, and those guys got busy with school and stuff. So and I love doing this. So I was just like, I'll balance it. So I brought in Harry because I know he wanted to do it. I brought in Aiden because I know he wanted to do it, and we've kept it going. But I mean, I was on that Chris Hogan interview. It was a lot of fun. He stuck on the interview with us for an hour. I mean, it was fantastic. It helped us really grow. I mean, we got on the news after that for it. Like,
Oh,
that
wow.
interview was absolutely incredible. Like it was.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
think I don't
I was
think
nervous. I was a nervous mess through the whole thing. I was stumbling, like, because I was like, "It's freaking Chris Hogan!" Like,
what
this
was
is
it?
the
It was
guy.
only like
This is
the
the guy I
third
grew up
episode,
watching.
right?
Like, yeah, it was
It was
like,
only like the third episode.
yeah, because we were like, like, let's see if we can get some interviews, and like, we sent out some emails to agents, and like, most of them were like, no, most of them didn't reply, and then I think it was Tom who answered us first, and he's like, oh yeah, sure, like, let me CC these people, and I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like, let's go. And it was a great experience. And I mean, like, obviously, like, I've evolved in this, and I'm less of a mess now, but like
We've all gotten pretty better at doing this, and I the one thing I really wish I could, like, say to Chris himself is like thank you, because I don't think he understands like how much he actually did for us
oh yeah,
after
he
that
has no
episode.
idea.
Oh, it's crazy how much we've been able to actually start like really working on Offbeat purely because Chris came on that one day just to talk to us for an hour. It's done so much for us, and that's why like we've all been so eager to keep getting at it, keep going forward, because we know what we can do now, and like we love talking to guys about
I
the
mean,
stuff we
we've
love.
gotten so many more interviews, like,
Semi Ojale, Mike
Or-
Sullivan, like we've had big names, and it feels great every time you get that interview, because it's like, damn, that was a lot of fun getting to
Still
talk
can-
to that guy.
and honestly, I will say we do leverage that interview a lot. I mean, I still reference it in my emails.
Yeah.
Oh, check out this. We interviewed Chris Hogan. I mean, if he would come on our podcast, I think your athlete should too, basically.
Yeah, no, that's how you got to do it. Like, I get a lot of pitches from podcasts all the time, and the easiest, and I get pitches for all kinds of things, but the easiest thing you can do to get someone to at least like treat you, like not just delete your email, is start with like credibility, and having something like that is huge. Like, hey, here's a credible person. Like, it gives you instant credibility to kind of help you at least get to the next part of the conversation. So super glad he was able to help you guys out. And yeah, I mean, for us, we definitely obviously work with a lot of the major media outlets, and we've done a lot of the big stuff, but we like to help people out. Like, that's what we're all about, is, no one's too big, no one's too small for us. And we're kind of that boutique family style company, and just people. And, sometimes life gets busy and things get crazy, but whenever we could find some time to, connect with people on a personal level, it's always helped. We always love doing it.
It means a lot to us, really, because I mean, Joe, I'm loving the conversation we're having so far, because I mean, everything you're saying is like, damn, I want to do everything this guy's doing. So I'm enjoying your company so far. But I really wanted to ask you, because you're an investor of the PLL, Premier Lacrosse League, and if you're looking at like the NBA, the NHL, NFL, you have these like monster leagues that have grown fan bases over the course of years and years and years. And really the main thing backing like big lacrosse players, what their environment is starting, like high school, like how big is that school based on their lacrosse team. And I want to see your insight is like, where do you see that competing with these like big time leagues, like growing as its league of its own?
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved with the PLL for a few years now, and I've been to a few games, and I think it comes down to this, right? It comes down to the youth. The youth drives the future, obviously.
Pretty much everything, yeah.
But like, when you see, at least like where I grew up, and I think throughout the country, you're seeing football, which is weird because the NFL ratings are through the moon. NCAA college football's ratings are crazy. Like, it's not dying off by any means, but in the younger leagues, at least for a few years, and maybe I need to go back and look again, but I was here, at least in my area, out in like suburbs of Chicago, football teams like were small. They were getting very small. Like, when I grew up, we had 3 teams at every age level, packed like every game, tons of people out.
Oh yeah.
All the time. Now, from what I've heard, and from talking to people that are still heavily involved, really kind of died off. They could barely fill one team. They got maybe 19, 20 guys, and the lacrosse is just booming from what I'm told. Like, there's so many more lacrosse kids playing lacrosse, teams playing lacrosse, and when I go to the PLL games, that's all it is. It's just kids. It's so many, kids between the ages of anywhere from like 8 to 18 years old. I feel like in that range, and I'm like, when you see that, you just have a good feeling about where it's going, right? And is it going to be the MLB, the NBA, NFL anytime soon? Absolutely not, right? But like 10, 15 years from now, could it be the MLS level?
Who's
At
to
least
say?
where the MLS was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't see why not, right? Like they finally unified the sport, right? The PLL basically bought up the MLL. They still have the indoor leagues right now, but they got ESPN deal. They got a lot of good brand partnerships. They have an unbelievable social media and content creation team. And, if they can continue to grow with the youth and create really good experiences, both in person and online, I don't see any reason why they can't continue to grow. And I think once they can finally get to a model where it's franchises in different locations and not necessarily a traveling league, that's when you'll know, like, okay, this is starting to hit. And there are ways to go from that still, but it's coming. The PLL is coming. It's not slowing down, and I'm really glad to be involved with it. And I think, the backers that they have now, I mean, Kevin Durant invested recently. There's some really big backers financially.
Right?
Yeah, Robert Kraft's an investor. So it's not going away. The team over there is really good at what they do, and I don't see it going away, and I do think it's going to grow. It's going to continue to grow.
So when can I start betting on the PLL? Is that a thing yet?
I think you can now. I'm almost positive you can bet now. I've definitely seen people. There's definitely PLL fantasy, and I've definitely seen like
There's
sports.
PLL fantasy?
There's PS. No way.
Start an offbeat PLL fantasy league.
Yeah, it's like
man.
I'm pretty sure it's game by game. That might actually be run through the PLL's app, but I've seen content creators online that are making odds, picks and stuff on PLL games. So I don't know where you do it through, but because I don't gamble on sports really, but I know people do it.
All right, I don't know who's the best, and I know I think he's retired. I'm drafting Chris Hogan #1 overall in the fantasy.
He ain't gonna be out there anytime soon. But
I'll take it. I just want him. I just want him as the honorary member of my team.
Well, you got to take my guys. So I work with Grant Ament and Rob Pinnell as well, and we're actually working on an NFT line right now called Bravehearts Lacrosse. And Rob, it's basically essentially like a trading card, a collectible, because it comes with a signed like platinum card that is signed by Grant and Rob. So you get the trading card collectible, like the actual metal, like in-hand card. Then you get a digital collectible online, like the NFT version of it, which is pretty valuable. And it also comes with like the PFP, right? Like the profile image avatar picture of them. It's like a cartoon type of deal. So they have two different lines. They have a founders collection, which are like $99 a piece. And then they have the legendary collection, which is like $999. And what it is you get the collectible, but you're also getting a really like nice, you're getting a whole ton of other value from the collectible. So like if you own the legendary one, for example, you get a personal one-on-one training session with Rob and Grant. You get access to their Attack Academy, which costs like $400 a year. You get a meet and greet in person at a PLL game and 2 tickets to the game. And then you get a signed autographed stick. So it comes with like all kinds of different stuff, not just the collectible and the NFT. So it's really cool what they're doing. They've really created a way to connect with their fans on a personal level. I mean, similar to like having Hogan come on your guys' podcast, like it's essentially what they're doing is like, hey, pay for this collectible. Not only do you own it, and if, as the sport grows and as their value grows within the sport, like the just like a trading card, it's going to go up in value. But you also get all the experiences that go along with it. So it's really cool. I know Grant and Rob, they're both really excited about it because when they were growing up, they didn't have any opportunity to connect with pros or stuff like that. And it's just another step of like bringing the fans closer to the athletes. And, we're really excited about the launch. It actually just launched last week.
Yeah, I think we need to hook Harry up with that training session.
I don't
Yeah.
know how I do.
Get him on the field. Let's get him on the field, right?
Hey, just put me as goalie. I think I'm big enough to cover the net.
The best goalie in the league. I think he was voted the number 1 player in the league. Blaze Reardon. He's a bigger guy.
Oh,
you go, Harry.
you know my opinion on the big guys, Joe.
Oh my god! All right, I want to ask from your idea, your kind of point of view. So right now, just a real life example. Lamar Jackson's representing himself in his contract negotiations. I don't know if you've seen this, but he's betting on himself this year. He to try and get one of those big contracts. And how do you feel from a sports like agency point of view about a guy representing himself? Is that risky? Do you feel like you're better off going with an agent, or do you think like just from like he can do it because of his stature in the league?
Yeah, to be honest, like I said, I'm kind of new to the actual contract representation side. So I don't want to speak out of tongue and say something that would make me look dumb. But just from just my general thought on it is like, you're better off just having an agent. Like, your focus needs to be on the field. Like, you need to focus on doing what you need to do to earn that next contract. You need to have somebody that's out there fighting for you, that knows the market, that knows the GMs, that knows, how it goes down, how the deals go down, that has experience, right? It's risky going without an agent. It really is. With that being said, his play speaks for himself, which is great. But he's not looking at his downside. He's only looking at the upside. Whereas it's nice to have. Betting on yourself is great, but like you gotta. Risk management is very important, right? And if you have the right agent, he's gonna look at every side of the card. He's gonna make sure you're in a good position because tell you what, and I don't want to wish bad upon anything or anyone, but like you need to have like something bad happens, you put yourself in a career-ending injury. It's good to have an agent that's already been thinking about that because you're not thinking about that. Agents are thinking about how they can help you maximize your contract and if you're working with us, it's for your life, right? Not even just like your next contract, but like what's the best choice for you in the long term of what you want to do next year, next 5 years, next 10 years, next 20 years. And, it's good to have someone you could trust that's looking out for your best interest. So I would highly recommend it. But again, you don't think about that when you're on the field and you're getting high contract offers and you're confident. But it's just like having a financial advisor. It's just like having a doctor, right? Like you don't hire a plumber to do your heart surgery. You don't try to do your own heart surgery. Like you get a specialist, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't hire
somebody who knows it. You don't just try and wing it as you go.
Yeah. That's a pretty good analogy. You don't do your own heart surgery.
Would you do your own? Yeah. Would you? These guys probably don't even do their own taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do your own contract? Like, so to me, probably not the best idea. But listen, I get it. And I guess, again, I don't know enough about it because, like, I don't know what he's trying to get out of it. Is he trying to save a little bit of money on the agency fee? Like,
I think he's just trying to make himself more marketable by how he plays. That's kind of the way he's stated it.
I don't even know where his angle is on that.
Yeah, I don't understand it either because the way he stated it was like, no, I'm not taking that contract. I want more, but I'm going to negotiate it through my game. So it's like, isn't that what you're already
get so far? I feel like
it's like that's already what he's doing, but now he's doing
he could be a smart guy. I don't know much about him, but he could be a really smart guy. He may have majored in sports management. We have no idea, but like,
we're just a bunch of 20-year-olds that talk about a dying franchise. So
at the end of the day,
we're not dying yet.
It's not about do you have an agent or not have an agent, right? It's more about do you have the right people around you, whether it's your agent, your accountant, your wife, your whoever, right? Like you need to have good people around you that you can trust to make to help you make good decisions, right? And obviously, you should always make decisions on your own, and go with your gut and do the research and all that. But yeah, I mean, I think you should have someone that's a specialist.
I always need a second opinion.
Well, and then you have like Bobby Wagner, who sent like a mass text out to all the GMs in the league because he represents himself, and they all thought it was a joke. So none of them replied at first until like he had to like go and prove it was him.
Yeah, I mean, it's also exactly, and I get it. Like some of these guys are just trying to like basically shake things up, and they want to disrupt the system and stuff like that. But I don't know. As long as you have the right person that's looking out for you, I wouldn't be too worried about if you're giving up a small percentage of your contract. If you have the right people around you, it's worth giving up that percent.
Yeah.
Because they're going to help make sure that you maximize that contract, and that if something goes wrong, you are protected because they looked at every term in the agreement, and they are, they're conscious of those things because they've seen it happen. And I'm not saying Lamar Jackson hasn't seen or hasn't paid attention. I really don't know. But yeah, in my opinion, like the analogy holds true. Like you're not going to do your own heart surgery. You're not going to do your own taxes. You're not going to do your own, plumbing or electrical work. Like hire the people that are specialists to do it. Especially if you have the money.
I think that's the perfect analogy. I really do.
I get it. If you're trying to really cut costs and you're making, $50,000 a year and you want to do your own taxes, sure, because you don't want to hire an accountant. But if you're making enough money, like
at the end of the day, you're never putting clamps on your own heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, like if you're making enough money and you got the right people around you, you don't have to worry about anything. Like make the right investments.
If you think you're good, you're good.
Yeah. So that's kind of my take on it.
So I saw you manage some social media accounts and marketing campaigns for sports legends like Kevin Garnett and Ray Lewis. You mentioned it a little bit earlier. What was it like working with guys like that? Did you get to like interact with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting, man. Like, I guess particularly with Ray Lewis, I had a little bit more FaceTime with him, and man, it was like he's on a different level of fame and like wealth where you really got to like hear stuff that you don't really hear like every day, right? Like you get a very different perspective. And his whole mission when I was working with him was he wanted to just change people's lives. Like I like really looked up to him and like how he was going about his business. Like he truly, genuinely wanted to help others, but he looked at it as like and like why he was working with us is because he wanted to grow his brand. And he's like, by growing, like he's like, I'm normally not big about all this social media. Like I don't even want to be on social media. He gave us a whole story about like how he was with Richard Branson and like a lot of like pretty big time people like in the world, like world leaders at this retreat. And he's saying some of the biggest world leaders in the world like don't allow their kids to be on social media, and they're kind of a little bit ahead of the time in terms of knowing the negative effects that come with the constant being on your phone and being like connected to the internet and people online. So he kind of was aware of that, but at the same time he knew, he's like, I really believe that I am like here to help others. Like he wanted to change 1 billion lives. That was always like his line. And he's like, the only way I could do that is by getting my message out there and by like helping people out. Like for that, like I need to be on social media to grow. So that's what he worked with us on a lot for. And yeah, it was cool. It was really cool, like to see that side of people, the entrepreneurial, or not the philanthropical side of some of these big people that really just want to, make the world a better place. So that was really cool. And, working with Kevin Garnett was also really interesting, and seeing someone that was just like passionate like that, man.
A quick question I have for you before you get back into Kevin Garnett. Were you working for him while he was doing Uncut Gems?
I actually tweeted out the Uncut Gems trailer from Kevin Garnett's Twitter account.
No shit. That was you? No kidding.
That was my job at one point. Yeah.
Kevin
That's
Garnett.
awesome.
Kevin Garnett is he as cool as he seems? I mean, I feel like
He
he's just
seems like the chillest person alive.
chillest, coolest dude.
He was just, man, like, it was just awesome, like, being on a call with him, and he would just get fired up and be like, let's fucking go. We're about to blow the back off this thing.
I mean, like, as
Very-
Celtics fans, like, we grew up watching him like that. Like, it's just
walking him, go in the paint, just scream, walking
like,
away. It's like,
he'd
I
hit,
want to be him.
He'd hit the base of the hoop. Like, oh.
He was passionate. Yeah, he was just passionate, man. Like, he had that fire. Like, and that was cool. Like, we kind of connected from that standpoint, because both, like, have the same type of energy, like, just always want to win, passionate about what we do. And I think that's what kind of like connected our team and him from the beginning. And yeah, it was great working with him. What we did.
Yeah, so one final question for you here. So as you've said, you've worked with guys like KG, Ray Lewis, a bunch of college athletes and guys, NFL, PLL, a bunch of different leagues.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could pick one player, who would you say is the favorite athlete that you've worked with, whether negotiating or just getting to know as part of your brand?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, I have to go with Chris Hogan, right? Like, the same as you guys. Like,
that's the answer I was hoping for, right
Not
there.
a bad
yeah,
choice.
That's the answer I was hoping for.
I can't thank him enough for, allowing me to, help him out with so many things and be a part of his circle. And, he's done so much for our company, our organization, and he's really, without him, like, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I really, rode a lot of the success that he had and was able to help tell that story, help promote his story. And, and that's kind of part of my story. Like, so without his success and his underdog story and everything that he's done, like, I really wouldn't have been in this space and in the position I am now. So I really couldn't think of anyone better to, I was his number one fan. Like, watched every game when he was playing, like, rooting him on, had the jersey on, went to the Super Bowl, all that. Like, yeah, he's you know what? Not even just that too. Like, he's just a good person, right? His family's great people. Just very similar characteristics and similar personality, and that's kind of what we're all about, is just spending time and being around people that that we enjoy, that are similar to us, that have the same mindset.
Mm-hmm. I need to invest in a Hogan jersey. I don't have one. I was gonna
I
get
don't
one
own,
after
like,
that
any
interview,
jerseys.
and then I just never did. Like, cause like I need to get a Hogan jersey. That's
I own
that's my
two
next jersey
jerseys.
purchase.
I own two jerseys, and it's a Scottie Pippen Bulls jersey and a Teddy Bruschi retro Pats jersey.
Nice.
Like, I have the red Patriots jerseys for Brady and Gronk, and then I
have
bought
this jacket.
I bought a Mac Jones Pro Bowl jersey, and I swear to God, I wore it. The first time I wore it was at this year's season ticket holder thing, because like my friend's uncle had tickets and he gave them to us for their in stadium practice thing. Mm-hmm. And we got front row, and I had like half the team sign it because it was the only thing I had for them to sign. And then so now I don't have like a current jersey. So I'm like, all right, I mean, it was worth it because Mac Jones signed it, so now I can frame it. But it's also like, now I need a new jersey.
Yeah, it's tough. Or you just go out and wear it.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. You got it for a reason.
All right, well, that's all we got for you. Thanks for hopping on, Joe. We really appreciate it. This was awesome. It's a great look.
Yeah, no problem. Glad I could join, guys.
Yeah, so
more than anything, it's a big thing to have you on here. We all really appreciate you coming on, taking the time out of your day, and it's been an honor to talk to you. It's been fun.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for watching and listening. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at @offbeat_sports and on YouTube. Subscribe and make sure you stay on the lookout for the next episode of Offbeat Sports. Thanks for tuning in.